I just want to make it clear that these are general rules, these aren't exact concrete rules, because I know some of you like to slide into my DMs on Instagram and show me fourth dimensional trippy acid shapes like these don't pertain to your rules.
Everything about you. Everything about you.
Hello you dirty potters, how are you today? Today we're gonna talk about making a cup, just like this. Now before we start this video, I want to be completely clear and transparent that we're not talking about making mugs today. The majority of people who are looking to make mugs are really just having trouble with handles, because a mug is nothing more than a cup with a handle on it. And seeing as how basically a cup is just a cylinder, I mean, making a cylinder is already easy by the point in which you should be learning how to make a mug. As I said before, cups are extremely easy to make. It's pretty much just a cylinder that you morph to look nice. And you don't even have to morph it. A cylinder by itself is good enough. You ever been to Dos Coyotes? Those are all pretty much just glass cylinders. Technically speaking, this is a cup, just like this is also a cup that I basically just made a little bit straighter and into a cylinder. But that doesn't mean every single shape in the world that is a cup is also a cylinder. That just means that a cylinder is easiest to make as far as a cup goes. This is also a cup. And this is also a cup as well. I'm trying to get across the point to you that many things can be cups, but the one thing that kind of makes them not cups is either size or placement of certain parts of the body. And today, that's what we're going to be concentrating on. I mean, I'd feel super weird if I just said make a cylinder and there you go, that's a cup. So today we're going to concentrate on not only the different shapes that qualify as cups, but also a couple of things that if you gave to me and you told me it was a cup, I would probably disagree with you. Here's something that I see all too often in other classes. Some people in my old classes would figure out that making a cup pretty much just razors down into making a cylinder. And they take that to the extent of, well, doesn't that mean any cylinder is a cup? And they just end up turning in this as a cup. This is not a cup. Most teachers will most likely not accept this. This is really just a shot glass with extra steps. There's kind of this scale, right? Too big, and it's really just a vase. It's not even a cup at that point. You're not gonna drink out of that. Right in the middle, yeah, that's a cup, for sure. But too small, and it's a shot glass. This doesn't qualify as a cup, just like that vase that's 10 inches tall does not qualify as a cup either. This is not acceptable as a cup. Nice try, Kyle. Go ahead and get your Monster Energy drink and make a real cup. The second thing that I've noticed, although it's not exactly a hard concrete rule, is the neck rule. This is not a concrete rule. This is just something that I've noticed over time in the ceramic art world. And not even in the ceramic art world. This actually is something that I've noticed in the cups in my cabinet that aren't handmade. This qualifies as a cup because it's just basically a straight cylinder. And so does anything else. And some of the better cups that I've seen usually have these big bellies. And because of that, they hold a lot more liquid.
But the one thing I really started to notice with these types of pieces is that if the neck and the opening of the piece ever starts to get smaller than the shoulder of the piece, it slowly starts to turn into a bottle.
Most bottles that you're gonna come across usually have a smaller neck than the opening itself, and that's for good reason. It's trying to keep in liquid. And this is pretty much just meant to hold liquid. Because of that, I've noticed that almost all mugs and cups usually have a bigger opening than they do their neck. You see, this right here is fine. It's a little bit smaller, if not equal to the opening of its neck. But at a certain point, if this top piece ever got smaller than the neck itself, this is starting to kind of look like a bottle, and there's nothing wrong with this. You can probably still drink out of this, but I think the main problem with the neck being bigger than the opening itself is that it's usually curved outwards. And if you look at a soda can, let's say take a Coke can for instance, it usually has the neck curved in a little bit so that your lips can rest upon this little part right here. But if you pop out the neck bigger than the actual top of the piece, it's not comfortable to drink from. Imagine putting your lips on this and then trying to have liquid slide down into your mouth out of this right here. This is gonna be kind of difficult as the very top here bends in a little bit. You don't really want to drink from this. This isn't inviting. And if I continue to make the neck super small, okay, that's a bottle now. There's nowhere to get around that. This is now no longer a cup. These are just two things that I've noticed as far as crafting goes that really help define a shape. These aren't set in stone rules or anything. Trust and believe, I know of some shapes that can easily break these rules. But as far as beginners learning how to make cups go, these are some general rules that most people kind of agree upon, and even companies who make cups, most of their cylinders are just straight up and down. I just want to make it clear that these are general rules. These aren't exact concrete rules, because I know some of you like to slide into my DMs on Instagram and show me fourth dimensional trippy acid shapes like these don't pertain to your rules. But I'm gonna stick hard on that shot glass one. That is not a cup. That's a shot glass, Ashley. Now that we're done with that, we can move on to a couple tips and tricks to making your cup. I think we're all pretty aware by now that this cylinder here qualifies as a cup technically. But that being said, I think every cup should have special attention to the very top, where most people put their lips. I mean, some people put their mouths at the bottom of stuff, but that's like more of a millennial thing. I don't know what's up with that. Let's say you're throwing and you throw yourself a perfect cylinder and you're fine, you're happy with it, right? You wanna take it off, you wanna show it to your teacher and go, look, now all I gotta do is trim it and I'm pretty good. This is an entry for one of my grades. But I don't think a lot of people pay attention to the very top of the cylinder as far as how clean and smooth it is. Let's be honest, most of us aren't used to seeing handcrafted things, or using them. Most of us, and raised most of our lives, have been using things made by companies and products, and Target and Walmart and all the places that I hate so much. But the thing that those all have in common is that their tops are always extremely smooth. This is something that you're gonna have to do yourself when you're crafting your cup. So right after you're done making your cylinder, I highly suggest you get a sponge, a chamois, something that'll arc over this very top right here, and gently make an arc and put it right over the very top where somebody would drink out of. After that, slowly release, and this should make a really nice mouthpiece for your brand new cup. Potter tip. You remember a while back when I was talking about Coke and Pepsi cans? Well, if you look really closely at them, you'll notice that they have kind of this little inward lip. And that's not a mistake, that's on purpose. That's for comfort of drinking, number one. And secondly, it's for stacking, but that's a whole nother issue. If you take your metal rib, go ahead and go right below where the neck should be of your piece, and push in just a little bit, you'll probably end up making this little lip as well. And you'll probably get a little bit of flare in your piece to boot. Now when someone drinks from this, their lip will sit right here very comfortably, and as they drink from it and they tip it upside down, gravity will end up just taking this down this flare. This is a crafter's point of view. This is extremely functional. I know it doesn't really cross our minds until we see something that's not this. This is really easy to drink from. Gravity really helps the liquid come directly to us. But if you were to try and drink from something like this, this is technically still a cup, but it's far less functional than the one with the flange on it that would be a lot easier to drink out of. Now your lip is gonna have to crawl around and hook around to this part here to even drink from, or you're probably just gonna try and waterfall it down your throat, and it's not gonna slide out very easily. This is probably gonna stop some ice if you do have ice inside of your cup. This is just gonna make it harder for whoever's drinking from this to drink from it. The point of using these things as a functional tool is for the ease of use of them. So make sure whenever you're making your mouth that number one, it comes out just a little bit like this, and number two, the top is nice and smooth. Tip number two, if you're making a cup and you wanna go a little bit beyond the cylinder phase, you can always belly it out. I love bellying stuff out and making kind of belly mugs simply because you took the same amount of material and you expanded on it to such a point that this would probably hold about 1/3 to 1/2 more the amount of liquid than the cylinder would. Oh my god, don't talk to me till I've had my coffee. I can't even. Well, now you can have more coffee. Brenda, Potter tip. I know I just used my metal rib to push outwards like this, right? I curved it, put my fingers on the inside and push that towards my metal rib. But if you're really good at it, you can take the other side of your metal rib, put counter pressure, just like we did the first time, and push inwards. And this usually makes some really interesting shapes. This isn't so much a functional thing. This is more of a, I do it because I can. Well, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me today. I know this video was kind of short, but it's really difficult to explain to you guys how to make the most basic of cups to get you on your way, because the most basic of cups is pretty much a small cylinder. And if you don't know how to make a cylinder or pull your wall in the first place, then you don't really belong at this step. You should most likely be continuing making your cylinders. I think the main tricks are getting your cylinder nice and neat and straight, and that's what really qualifies as a good cup. And I hope that some of those tips and tricks really helped you guys out with making your cylinders a little bit more straight and smooth at the tops. If you'd like to see any of my artwork, the links are always down below for your beautiful Potter eyes to see. Hopefully you guys have a good time on your next projects, and I will see you, Dirty Potters, next week. And then we're just gonna say goodbye, and we're gonna go about our ways, and then we're gonna overeat, and then look at ourselves in the mirror and wonder why we are this way. And I'll see you, Dirty Potters, next week.